Hello, my name is Brendan Johnson, and I would like to persuade colleges to pay their athletes for the efforts for the program that they're involved in. I would also like to persuade my audience to pay student athletes because these athletes work really hard to make their programs better and they should get a cut. Why is this important? You hear about it every year. An athlete's career in college ends because of an injury and gets their scholarship pulled. This is why I believe student athletes should be paid for all the risk and hard work they do for their program. Did you know the NCAA men's basketball tournament in 2014 made $1.15 billion in television ads alone? Student athletes every year have season-ending injuries and end up having their scholarships pulled and spend the rest of their lives in debt. These athletes deserve payment so they can live their lives and avoid this. According to TheNation.com, the NCAA can make billions off the athlete, but the athlete cannot make money off his or herself, and that truly isn't fair to the athlete. I will be discussing how student athletes should be paid for all the risk and hard work they do for their program, because being a student athlete is a full-time job. When you're not in class, you're practicing for sports. If the student athlete gets hurt and if the insurance doesn't cover it, it's on the parents or guardians to pay. And the NCAA can make money off the athlete, but the athlete cannot make money off themselves. I will next discuss how the NCAA can make billions of dollars off an athlete, but the athlete doesn't touch a single dime of that money. So why exactly can the NCAA make money off the athlete, but the athlete can't? According to the USAToday.com, the NCAA made $989 million in 2014 alone. Also, according to BusinessInsider.com, Texas A&M topped all Division I colleges with a phenomenal $192.6 million in revenue. College athletes can become recognized across the country but don't get a single penny in their pocket for their hard work and dedication to their programs. If colleges can make all this money in just in a year, shouldn't at least a small portion of it go to the athletes? As a student athlete, you don't have time to get a job because all you have time to do is go to class and to practice. Between class and sports, athletes can't work a part-time job. 72 coaches in football alone in the NCAA make more than $1 million a season. Without these students working hard from year to year, none of that money the NCAA makes would exist. 24 Division I athletic programs made well over $100 million in 1 year. Furthermore, if these athletes could get paid for all the hard work they do year-round, they would have a backup plan in case they get injured during the season. Plus, it would teach them some responsibility with money. Now that I told you about how the NCAA can make money off the athlete, but the athlete can't make money for themselves, I will next discuss how if the insurance doesn't cover a surgery an athlete needs because of an injury, it's on the parents or guardians to pay the difference. Another reason students should be paid is because if an athlete gets hurt and the insurance doesn't cover it, it's up to the parents and guardians to pay out of their pocket. According to Noodle.com, a man named Stanley Doughty lost contact with the Kansas City Chiefs because of an undiagnosed spinal injury while playing for the University of South Carolina. But the school didn't have to pay for the surgery because he graduated. If athletes could get paid, maybe Stanley could have paid for his surgery and continued to entertain people playing football. When a severe injury does happen, the school is not required to pay the difference. The insurance doesn't pay, but it's again on the parents. The only time the NCAA steps to pay a medical bill is one time only if the price of the surgery is higher than $90,000. If and only if the athlete is participating in an NCAA championship event, the NCAA will cover all the expenses. For example, Kevin Ware played basketball for the University of Louisville and broke his leg in the NCAA tournament, and the NCAA covered all of his rehab and his expenses. There's been cases where smaller schools only cover the expensive only if it's more than $10,000. There should be at least an insurance program that athletes can enroll in just in case their injury is career-ending and they won't be in much debt. If an injury is catastrophic enough, athletes could get their scholarship pulled and have long-term effects for the rest of their lives, such as osteoarthritis. When this does occur, students often take out loans to pay for it, but then again, the student has to pay the bill. Now that I've discussed how athletes have to pay out of pocket and insurance doesn't cover it, I will finally explain how being a student athlete is a full-time job. You really do have to be dedicated to be a student and an athlete because there's no time for anything else. These student athletes should be paid because none of them have time to have a part-time job to make money on the side for living expenses. Most schools have a no pass, no play policy when it comes to their athletes playing a sport, but these student athletes have to study for their classes, if not harder than everybody else. Student athletes don't really have enough time to take advantage of the free education they've earned because they're either practicing or studying. Some of these athletes have full scholarships. They have their room and board paid for, but not their living expenses. So they deserve payment not only for surgeries they may have, but to pay for the food and gas. When they get their scholarships, as far as the student knows, they're there to play sports, not go to school. So the coaches make the student put school on the back burner. When these students have practiced 14 hours a week, they still have to go to class and work as hard as everybody else does. When these athletes go to practice, they're still expected to study as hard as everybody else. Now that I've discussed being a student athlete as a full-time job, I will provide an example of what will happen if you do not change. Even though it's what they signed up for, if you don't pay these athletes and if they get hurt, their scholarship will get pulled from them and they will be in more debt from hospital bills on top of their college tuition. These athletes deserve to be paid because of the risk they face every day of getting injured and they won't be able to pay the bill or get by because these athletes don't have time for a part-time job because they're either in practice or in class. These student athletes need a form of payment. My goal is to persuade you that these student athletes need payment so they can live better lives. If there was an insurance program the student athletes could sign up for so they don't have to pay out of pocket, some bigger colleges have paid for all the rehab and surgeries these athletes may have. I believe if student athletes can get paid a certain amount for all the efforts they do, students will live better lives and benefit from this if worse comes to worse. Even though it's what they signed up for, they knew the risks to play the game. Student athletes should be paid for all the risk and hard work they do for their program because being a student athlete is a full-time job. When you're not in class, you're practicing for sports. If the student athlete gets hurt and insurance doesn't cover it, it's on the parents or guardians to pay for the hospital bill. The NCAA can make lots of money off the athlete, but the athlete cannot make money for all the hard work they do for their program. To persuade my audience to pay the student athletes because these students work really hard to make their programs better, they should get a cut. Student athletes should get payment for all the risk they have to play the game. Have a good day.